Hi, I'm Dr. Terry Bates of the Cornell Lake Erie Research and Extension Lab, and today we're talking about variable rate fruit thinning in Concord vineyards. So this week we went out and we wanted to do some variable rate fruit thinning, and I wanted to walk you through our workflow on how we did this. So the first thing you want to do is you want to collect some observations about your vineyard. That can be done in a very low-tech way where you, as a grower, go out and observe your vineyard and make recordings. You can do that with the MyEV app, or you can do something a little bit more high-tech and go out with sensors. In this case, we use NDVI sensors placed at a part of the canopy where I thought I could see differences in very strong growth versus very weak growth in the canopy, and map those two. So whether I use my own observations or use a sensor, I have two pretty similar maps where I'm picking out where the strong vines are and the weak vines are, and I'll be using that for both my crop estimation and then my decision on how much fruit to thin. So in one of the blocks that we have where we wanted to do the variable rate fruit thinning is the Martin East block, and when you go out and make some observations, you see that in the red zone we have very small vines, and so for sake of argument, I'm going to say they're 1 pound vines. I won't know for sure until the end of the season when we collect pruning weights, but they look pretty small. So I would say they're 1 pound vines. In the green area, we have 2 pound vines. I basically rated that by saying if I have a pretty full canopy, but it's not growing all the way to the ground, I can see through to the other row on the other side of that vineyard row, then I would consider that about a 2 pound vine. Or if I have this big lush canopy, full canopy, shoots grow all the way to the ground, I can't see the row next to me, I'm going to call that a 3 pound vine. And basically what that is saying is that I know that a 3 pound vine with that big canopy can ripen a larger crop than the 1 pound small canopy vine. So then I go out and do my crop estimation. And really there's 2 components to this. One is you want to get the best possible sample, and again we do that by stratifying our samples based on some other observation about vine health or soil type that's in that vineyard. So I stratify those samples, and then I use the Concord Fresh Berry Curve to predict where I am right now with crop size and what it's going to be at harvest time. So then I can predict out what my final crop size is going to be. And you can use this table that we've been using since 2003, which is based on the average berry curve for Concord in the Lake Erie region. When we were out, we did some crop estimation at exactly 30 days after bloom, so we're using 50% of the final berry weight. The other day when we were doing our variable rate fruit thinning, we were somewhere between 55 and 60% of final berry weight when we were actually doing this. So we use this information and we do our crop estimate. And the crop estimate for us in this Martin East block showed that the small vines were somewhere between 8 and 9 tons per acre. The green vines were 10 to 11 tons per acre, and the blue vines were 12 to 13 tons per acre. And so where do I want those to be? So based on our Concord crop load model, I want balanced vines. And to me, the definition of balanced vine is that I am going to reach 16 bricks by the second week of the harvest season, and I am neither going to gain or lose pruning weight. So my vine capacity is basically going to stay the same. If I want my vine capacity to increase, I need to undercrop those vines. Conversely, overcropped vines are going to lose pruning weight and lose crop potential for the next season. So when I look at my 3 zones, I'm seeing my 3 pound vines are running about 12 tons per acre. And according to our model, they're probably balanced. I don't have to take any fruit off of those. I'm a little concerned at 12 tons per acre, so I'm going to take a little bit of crop off of that anyways. And for the sake of showing some variable rate fruit thinning, I want to take a little bit off. So say 10% of that crop's going to come off the blue zone. In the green zone, I'm running that 10 to 11 tons per acre to be balanced. I probably want to be somewhere around 8 or 9 tons per acre. So I'm going to set up my machine to take off about 25% of the crop. And then in those small vines, they're really stressed out. The amount of crop that's there is too much for what that canopy can ripen, so I want to take off even more crop, so say 40% of that crop. And I know that's a lot of crop to take off and people don't feel comfortable doing that, but it's only a small portion of my vineyard, and I really want to help those vines. So taking off 40% of the crop is really not, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to go ahead and shake some of that fruit off and try to strengthen those vines.
Okay, so this is the Oxbow 6030 multifunction harvester that we have here at the lab. What we're doing is we're using ag leader technology to control the head. So we've got two options. We have standard Oxbow or standard grape harvester function where you set a head RPM and you drive. What we've done is we've integrated the ag leader system into the Oxbow system so that we can control the head speed with a prescription map. As we go across the vineyard according to our prescription rate for that particular spot, it will increase or decrease our head speed as we go. So a couple components that we have, we're using the stock head RPM pickup for the head speed, the stock PWM valve that is on the harvester. Basically we unplug the Oxbow side, we plug in the ag leader side, and with some programming, and away we go.
So the first thing we wanted to do here was set up a prescription map to take off different amount of fruit going across a vineyard row. So we sacrificed a row and we started off here shaking the vines very lightly just to see how much fruit would have. So at the lowest rate we weren't taking off any fruit, and then as we increased our gallons per acre or our RPMs of the shaker head speed, would take off more and more fruit. So at about 500 GPA, we're taking off 50% of the fruit, then we're taking off 70% of the fruit, up to the point where we're clean stripping those vines to see how much crop was there. And we use that rate response to inform us of how we want to set up the machine to take off our 10 or 25% or 40% of our crop. So given we sacrificed that one row, we looked at different rates, how much fruit came off, and then I can take those rates and apply them to my management. So and do that variable rate. So we take those numbers, we plug them into the ag leader system so that I'm taking off the right amount of fruit in each zone. And once that's plugged in, then Andy can drive the rows and it'll fruit thin variable rate on the fly. And what we're doing in this Martin East block is that we thinned the even rows based on our variable rate prescription map, and the odd rows we left alone. So at harvest time, we're going to be able to exactly tell what was the effect of our variable rate thinning versus a nearly identical vineyard, every other row, that was unthinned. And then we can also measure our return crop that we're going to get off of this vineyard next year.